it's been an amazing journey. I never imagined in a million years that we would be here together, doing this together, sticking together, and just being accountable with each other. And I think we're getting the greatest results because we are doing this as a team. And I mean, I've had MetaSwitch in my life for 6 years since I've started with Max, and never have I really stuck to it like I have. And it's all because of you. And I feel like we all feel the same, that we're all feeling supported. And I just want to share a little bit about myself. I'm Janet Moriyama, and I'm so happy to meet some of you. Some of you I already know, but I'm so glad that you jumped on board with us. And we have another 2 months to go on this campaign, on this journey together. And I'm just seeing such great results, and that just makes me so happy. I've been with Max for 6 years now, and I have a really great story how it's just changed my life so much with my tick-borne illness. And then that led me to the other products in this company that has changed my life as well, and as for so many others. So I started in November with 3 dynamic ladies, Olga, Sylvie, and Mireille. And we brainstormed like crazy. And it seemed a bit challenging in the beginning, but it all came together. And then now we have a community, and here we are. So I'd like to introduce you to Sylvie Cosette, and I'll let her take on here and show you a little bit about what's going on and share with you what's been happening after the first month.
All right. Hello, Janet. Yes, so I'm Sylvie Cosette. I'm from Quebec, and before joining Max, I owned a small gym. It was a small women's fitness gym, and while I was running the club, I took a three credit course at university on nutrition, and that's where my interest started to grow on nutrition. Before, when you don't know anything about food, proteins, and carbs, you just go for choices that you like, right? I mean, if it tastes good, you go for it without realizing, what does our body need and how much does it need? So my interest grew from there. And so when we heard about the MetaSwitch product, I was very curious to hear about it and the whole program with the recipes and everything. And I'm really happy to be working with Janet, Olga, and Mireille on this journey. These are fabulous women. I didn't know them very much before this. And so we're learning to work together, know more of each other. And we're really happy with this group. I think what's making a difference even for me is having to be accountable to somebody else. I never realized the power of accountability when you're doing it with other people. I think sometimes it's easy when we're not being accountable to nobody to just hide behind, oh, I didn't do so good. Oh, I didn't feel like doing this. I didn't feel like doing that. But here in this group, it's much different. So I've never been like so focused on what I need to do to reach my goal. And I realize the power of group. And I'm really happy that everybody that's joining in really use the power of this group to learn also. We're going to be teaching a little bit more about like what are proteins, healthy proteins, what are healthy carbs, what are healthy fats, because they're all important. We don't want to cut any of them out. It's just, learning which ones are working best for me, what quantities that I need. But once you sort of figure out just the basics, then it's easier to create your own recipes, even after this journey. And for me, losing weight, I've been wanting to do it for a couple of months, at least a year now since COVID. And with the group in January, it was like, it's a perfect time for me. I'm digging in, I'm going in. And I even ordered my scale. I haven't weighed myself in like 10 years. And boy, was I surprised. But what I like about the scale, it's I've actually learned like what percentage of my body is actually fat, and like how many pounds of fat do I need to lose? Not just the number on the scale, but how much fat I needed to lose. So I'm tracking that down, and tracking has also been very important for me, because you have a long-term goal, and sometimes it feels so far that it's almost feels like you can't reach it. But if you break it down into weekly goals and then daily goals and you track it, you can see the progression and you can see like, oh, I need to work a little bit more on this, a little bit more on that. And it helps you stay on track. So for now, that's all I'm going to say, because I do want to give a lot of time for Bobbi so she can do the presentation. And we'll come back after and see maybe the Facebook group to see where everything is and how people can use it properly. And I want to introduce Olga. Olga, she loves to train. She's our fitness machine, even Mireille too, but I'm going to introduce Olga. So she loves to train. She's a fitness trainer. She herself has struggled, you know, with weight loss. So I'm going to let her tell her story. So Olga, are you ready? Oops.
I believe she had some sound issues. She might have signed off, and I think she's going to try to come back in. I just noticed this.
All right, so maybe we can go with Mireille. So Mireille, you've had your own gym also. We're just starting to get to know each other, but I love her energy. I love her positive vibes, and it's so great to be working with her. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself a bit more in detail there, Mireille. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sylvie. Yes, as Sylvie said, my name is Mireille Benge, originally from Ottawa, Ontario. I always say that because I've just recently moved back, so I forget where I am sometimes. And my passion is movement. And I've been in the fitness and wellness industry, teaching, training, coaching for the last 35 years. And yeah, in the last 5 years, I owned my own gym until in June with COVID, it had to shut down. But nevertheless, I have been a bit of a cheater over the years because I've trained so much and coached so much. I never really had to worry about what I consumed because I burned it off almost immediately. But as I, joined the 50s, all of a sudden things shifted, things changed. So a few years ago, as a matter of fact, about 4 years ago, a wonderful friend introduced me to the Mct patented products, which absolutely saved my bacon because all of a sudden I found myself close to 50, teaching 4 or 5 times a day and coaching people. And while I was on, big smile on my face. I love my participants. I give them my best. But at the end of the day, I was the one, bitching and complaining to my husband that I was falling apart. So I found myself with these amazing products, watching my recovery time become as good as it was when I was in my 20s and my 30s. And it just changed my life. And so I'm so grateful to this line of wonderful products. And then a few years ago, 2 years ago, I decided to put up a weight management challenge to my participants at my fitness studio. And we did it with Switch, and it was remarkable. I absolutely changed nothing with regards to my physical activity, but just paying more attention, noticing the changes in my body, educating myself. Even though I know a lot about nutrition, I don't know everything. And with my body's changes, I need to adapt and make some modifications. So it was remarkable how, as a team together of people that were mostly 50 plus, we saw fantastic energy being held and also, not losing muscle while we all lost fat and felt great. So I'm happy to be part of the team doing it again. And we have wonderful, wonderful support from Max Corporate with the Flex Food Plan, which is, giving us some suggestions, helping us out with, what to eat. And so the do's and the don'ts in terms of food categories. And then we also have 3 wonderful prizes at the end of this challenge, which you're going to hear more about, this 90-day challenge. The female who will have lost, the most inches in weight, the best man who will have lost inches in weight, and also the associate, which will have brought the most amount of people to this 90-day challenge. So excited to be working with these beautiful ladies and to bring you guys my support, my knowledge in this area, and also just a lot of fun as we do it together. So, have fun. And I will now introduce my beautiful colleague, Olga. I see that she's back on. Olga is from Toronto, Ontario. And as you heard from Sylvie, is also a trainer. So Olga, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Thank you, Mimi. Forgive me, folks. For the first few minutes, I was not able to hear anything. So I don't know, are we just sharing our story right now quickly? Forgive me. We are, okay. So my name is Olga. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And just a little bit about me, I guess, in my weight loss journey. I started training when I was 16 years old, fell in love with weight training. My whole goal was to become a bodybuilder when I was younger, moved to California. While I was down there, obviously being new from leaving home, I didn't really know much about how to eat properly. Thus, I just kind of ate whatever I wanted. Still training very, very hard at the gym, made some great progress as far as strength, putting on muscle, but obviously I put on a lot of weight. I went from 140 pounds pretty much up to 200 pounds really quickly, and kind of stayed at that stage for a number of years, always having a hard time trying to lose the weight, and never really understanding that it was just the portion amount that was affecting me. So long story short, after a number of years, reading various, magazines, books, trying various things, I eventually was able to lose the weight, though I was still training really, really hard, and fell in love more and more with health and nutrition and wanting to help people. When I came back to Canada in 2003, I got my personal training certificate and started helping people, still like on my journey though, for myself, and eventually was able to just get down to a comfortable weight, but still battling, unfortunately, with a lot of cravings. And I don't know about you guys, but I know most women, hold on a second, sorry. A lot of women tend to struggle with cravings, especially during that time of month. And so for me, that was a big thing. So when I ended up going on Switch just recently, I was a lot more serious, because obviously as you get older, you tend to be more serious about things, or, you keep on trying things in the past and you're like, hey, I'm going to really do this correctly. And that was my whole mindset when I started this in mid-December with the ladies. I was really excited that I was asked to do this. And so, I noticed for me right from the start that it really hit my cravings. And even though I still got some slight cravings around that time, the difference was they weren't as strong. And even though I haven't been able to train as much because of various reasons going on in the world and being sick slightly, I've pretty much only trained once this month. I've still managed to just still keep my number on the scale in the low 140s, which to me was amazing. My diet, I haven't been following, and I'll be honest, I haven't been following the diet strictly, but I am listening to my body. I'm not as hungry anymore as I was before. And I feel like a huge contribution is obviously the pills, because what it does curb your appetite, and it does burn the fat, obviously. And so I find that I am actually getting leaner, even though I'm not training as much, funny enough. So nutrition is a big part of it. And, if you listen to your body and you actually pay attention to it, then things start working, things start happening. So I'm really, really happy about what the next couple of months are going to be bringing. And with the gyms obviously opening up tomorrow, I'll be there. And that's obviously just going to speed up the process. So kudos to everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody. And are we still there? Okay, sorry, I thought I got cut off there. Yes, and I'd like to introduce our feature speaker, Bobbi Horne. She's become a personal dear friend of mine. She has the biggest heart of gold. She cares about everyone. She's always there to help us. And we have great conversations. She's very inspirational and very knowledgeable. She's a certified health coach with Smart DNA, and I got my DNA done with her. So I highly recommend that if you all have the opportunity to one day get your DNA done, it is your roadmap to your health. So you will find out a lot about yourself, and Bobbi's an expert on that. And she's also a pulse cardiovascular health coach. So we'll give it to you, Bobbi, and we'd love to hear what you have to say about the MetaSwitch.
Thank you so much, Janet, and congratulations to this group. You guys have developed just an amazing community, and it's been so much fun for me to follow you on Facebook and see everyone's success. Some of the videos have just been phenomenal. Janet, I've loved your food prep. Chris and Tammy, I've loved your workouts and your little tips. Sylvie's done some great things. Olga's done some great pieces. Mireille. I mean, it's just been so much fun to follow you guys, to see everything that you're doing. So Janet asked me if I would kind of do just a little overview for MetaSwitch. So I basically have taken the company presentation and I boiled it down so that it can be something that is usable and something that if you want to use it in your groups, you can. So who is going to turn over the screen share for me so that I can actually pull up this PowerPoint presentation for you?
One moment. My apologies, Bobbi. Actually, you do have co-host right now, so you should have the green little icon at the bottom. You can go in here.
Fantastic. Let's see if this works. Let's go for it. Okay, let's go to the slideshow. And God willing, this works because I worked on this all day. So, and Chris and Tammy and I had talked about this because we recognized that the presentation that was available to the associates was just incredibly long, and it's not something that you could get through easily. I've added my own little flavor, so if it's not something that you want to use, we can delete those slides, but let's just go through this because MetaSwitch is a system that I was really lucky. I mean, I happened to be one of the beta testers for this product line, and I was absolutely amazed at how well it worked. But let's talk a little bit about why weight loss is so important, because it's not just how your clothes are going to fit. And I think I have been a lifelong dieter. I have been somebody who has struggled with weight my entire life. It's just always been a struggle. But when I got to a certain age, I realized it wasn't about my weight. It wasn't about how my clothes fit. It was really a matter of health. And if you take a look at the real reason why weight loss is so important, it's inflammation. Because unfortunately, excess fat creates systemic inflammation and it affects all the organs of your body. And keep in mind that involves your heart and your brain. And those are the organs that you really want to protect as you age. Most of us on this call, not all of us, are over 50, but you know, this is something that would make a big difference long term. So we don't want to shorten that lifespan. I don't know about you. I plan, my target date is 103, just so you know. So I have a few more years left on the planet. But one of the things I want to do is avoid the diseases that are associated with inflammation, things like cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes and stroke, heart disease. Those are diseases that are associated with inflammation. And unfortunately, diabetes is on the rise, and diabetes and cardiovascular disease really go hand in hand. In fact, type 2 diabetes alone significantly increases your risk for heart attack and stroke. We'd like to avoid that. Those are the diseases we want to avoid. It's not just about diet. It's about lifestyle. You know, it's about being smart about the things that we put in our mouths to supplement, being really smart about the foods we select. And it's about just being focused to the rest of our lives because it's about being better. And I threw this slide in and I kind of chuckled when I threw it in because I can just imagine me sitting. I don't sit very often and do Zen things, but this just really appealed to me today. I needed a little Zen today. So let's talk about lifestyle. What does lifestyle even mean? You know, I have clinicians that I work with who will say to me, you know, I talk to my patients about lifestyle. It's like, okay, when you talk about lifestyle, what does that really mean? How do you explain that to your patients? Well, it boils down to it's how you eat, what you put in your mouth, what you drink, how you supplement, and how you exercise. And quite honestly, that is responsible for 90% of the diseases that we're most concerned about. You know, we have the power, if we want, to prevent a lot of these diseases just simply by modifying that lifestyle. So even if you have a genetic predisposition, this means you have a genetic, what they refer to as polymorphism, you can actually silence the genes that don't serve you well. And a couple of the comments that I heard earlier from both Mireille and Olga, I'm going to tap into that because really a lot of the stuff that we experience as we try to control weight as we age is specifically genetic. So what does a healthy lifestyle even look like? You know, one of the things that I recognize, and you know, I suspect that there are a lot of people on this call that are just the same way as I am. We have a lot of stress in our lives. I've found that there are some tools that I personally have found really, really help. You have to find what works for you. Find your favorite stress release. For some people, that's going to be exercise. It may be walking. It might be running. I'm not a runner. Walking is just wonderful for me. I love to read. I love to meditate. I've learned self-hypnosis, which I absolutely, you know, appreciate and use frequently. It's a matter of eating and drinking for your health, not just for the size of your jeans. And I mean that seriously. If we simply convert to really consuming a diet that's really rich in whole foods, and we're going to talk about green carbs and white carbs, because I like to talk about that, because it's a little tip that I learned from Dr. Penny Wilson, who used to do a lot of our Max calls on Saturday calls when we had them. But I love to talk about fruits and vegetables and why they're so important. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I eat lots of vegetables for breakfast. It's something that I learned to do about 2 years ago, and it's just become mainstream. And I don't know what it would be like to eat breakfast anymore without vegetables. But also understanding what lean proteins are and the whole grains that we should be selecting. Making sure that we're hydrated, because dehydration causes overeating. And most people don't realize that, you know, if you reach for something, reach first for a glass of water before you reach for anything else. And then, as Olga and Mireille would attest to, you know, that brisk walk, 30 minutes, 3 times a week. If you're somebody who's just getting started in exercise, please don't overdo it. I'm sure that Olga and Mireille will tell you the same thing. It's when people overdo that's when they run into problems and they give up. But if you can simply go for a brisk walk for 30 minutes, I mean, start off slowly. If you can only do it twice a week, do it twice a week, but start somewhere and work up to 3 to 4 times a week. And then in between days, and this is to support cardiovascular health, seriously, resistance exercise for 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be heavy weights. It can be resistance bands. Resistance bands have become something that I think are just brilliant. And they can be carried with you when you travel. You can actually use resistance bands. If the only time you find to exercise is in the evening hours, you know, when you're trying to catch up on the evening news, go ahead and use resistance bands. Light weights, kettlebells, yoga, and Pilates. Pilates is a wonderful source of resistance exercise. So beyond the fad diets, you know, part of the problem is that we get pulled into the diets that everyone is talking about. Sometimes it's our friends, sometimes it's our family members, and they don't necessarily fit for us. I know that, I mean, I have to literally eat differently than most of my friends. I'm 5'2", and as I said, I've struggled with weight my entire life. I don't have a lot of distance between my head and my feet. So I have to be very, very careful about what I put in my body. So where do we begin? I absolutely love this graph, because this is what I use as part of my DNA training. So anybody who's done the DNA testing with Smart DNA is familiar with this. And what's really great is that if you take a look at this, and I think you can probably see my cursor, 50 to 67% of people fall in this middle category. So if you think about it, most of us have fairly good cardiovascular health. If we fall on one end or the other, we have to be a little bit more careful. But look at the guidelines for each one. I think is really pretty cool. Because if you take a look, oops, sorry, now I don't know how to go back. Let me see if I can do it. There we go. If you take a look at the basic guidelines, they're the same for every single genotype. So a lot of this has to do, the ApoE is apolipoprotein E, and it has to do with how we absorb fats, how our body processes lipids. And so it's really pretty cool the fact that we can kind of follow kind of the same pattern across the board and be pretty good. So even if we started in the middle, now not everyone's going to fit in the middle, but a good portion of us will. When you take a look at soluble fiber is important for every single person. If you take a look at fish oil, every single person should be using fish oil. That's where our omega-3 fatty acids come in, our Mct 357. You look at your sources of energy. Now this is the percentage of your total calories. In this particular middle group, 25% of the calories should come from fats. Now, fats are calorie dense, and I'll tell you that the types of fats that we select are really important here. 20% of our calories should come from protein, and then 55% of our calories should come from carbohydrates. But let me tell you why this is so important. Carbohydrates are not just potatoes, not just rice, not just pasta. Carbohydrates are green carbs. All of your fruits, all of your vegetables fall into the category of carbohydrates. So we have to be very selective about what we put on our plates, with the majority of our plate typically being vegetables with a combination of whole grains. And whole grains are also carbohydrates. So combining this so that 55% of your calories that you eat in one day fall into that category is extremely important. If you take a look at alcohol, not everyone consumes wine. I do. And I'll tell you why I actually poured that glass of wine. Because for my DNA, I'm allowed to have 1 glass of wine a day. And that's okay. For those people who enjoy a glass of wine, it's perfectly okay. But it's when you overdo. That's what gets you into trouble. Because wine is very calorie dense. So choosing foods that are less calorie dense makes a really big difference. Keep in mind that moderate alcohol will actually help to raise your HDL, which is your good cholesterol. I always refer to HDL as your happy cholesterol or healthy cholesterol, and you want to raise that as high as you can. Keep in mind that not everybody benefits from not everyone benefits from having that alcohol every day. If you can see over here in the ApoE4. Now, these are folks that tend to have higher risk of cardiovascular health. They're going to have a higher risk for Alzheimer's and dementia. So they have to adjust a little bit. If you see that they have to cut down a little bit on the fats, they have to increase protein just a little bit. And those are lean proteins. But keep in mind, look, across the board, for almost every single group, 55% of the calories come from carbohydrates. For this group, the ApoE4 group, they don't benefit as much from having that 1 glass of wine every day. So sometimes they might have to cut back. So moderate alcohol is not beneficial for this group. But look at the difference in exercise. And this is where, if you have someone who's a trainer that really understands this, they'll understand how to do the combination of both aerobic and strength training. And strength is really, in this particular vernacular, is resistance training. So that lightweight resistance training is extremely important. So let's talk about fats. I mean, I think fats are really interesting because, we have been inundated by fats in our packaged foods that are not necessarily good for us. So if you take a look at the monounsaturated fats, the ones that are really healthy, that's going to be olive oil and peanut oil and avocado oil. Keep in mind, those are all nuts. So all of the nut oils are the ones that you want to incorporate into your diet. Even the nut butters are fine. Preferably almond butter to peanut butter. It just happens to, peanut butter tends to have a lot of sugar in it. So if you can get an almond butter that doesn't have sugar in it, that's to your benefit. But look at the saturated fats, the ones that we have to kind of steer clear of. That's going to be butter and red meat. So do you remember those ApoE4 people? Those are folks that shouldn't eat as much red meat. They should eat more fish. They should eat more shellfish. They should have more lean cuts of beef and chicken and poultry, things that really make sense for their particular DNA. But when you take a look at ApoE2, those folks can have more fat in their diet because they also tend to have a higher antioxidant level. I love this, and I'm going to actually send a picture of this through so that you have a copy of this, because what's happened is we've incorporated a lot of trans fats into our diets. Those are foods that are trans fats are found in packaged foods. The foods that quite honestly are convenience foods that don't necessarily serve your health. So if you can, steer towards the monounsaturated fats and the polyunsaturated fats, because those are the ones, the polyunsaturated are the ones that have the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And they're going to, you know, things like salmon, just wonderful foods for us. I'll make sure you have a copy of this in, Sylvie, I'll send you a copy of this picture so that you have it for your files and you can share it with others. Healthy whole grains. You know, these are foods that are so good for us. I don't know how many of you incorporate oats into your diet, or bulgur, or brown and wild. And, you know, I mean, I love wild rice and brown rice. Those happen to be two of my favorite. Barley is one of my favorites. Buckwheat. We're starting to understand how important whole wheat is versus the processed foods, and the processed quinoa is another one. And we're so lucky to have this weight management system. Switch is, in my estimation, I didn't understand this when I first started it because I didn't understand how powerful it was. And then, of course, I had my DNA tested just at this, almost at the same time I started on the Switch capsules so that I could understand it. So the Switch formula helps to support healthy metabolism. It helps to reduce appetite. And I'm going to talk about a little piece that I noticed that was really important, and I'll have a slide in just a moment. Metabolism is really important, especially, I mean, I'm at an age where metabolism is really important. So we have to support that AMPK pathway. We also have to have a way to support our energy levels, and that's where the ribosine comes in. And as we lose fat, it's released into our system, and we have to have a way to flush it out. Because within our fat cells, we also have toxins. We store toxins. So ribosine, in addition to having the additional support of Celgevity or Max1, any form of ribosine is really important for weight loss because it also helps to improve insulin sensitivity. And we have studies that show that. So it's one of the things that I think is really, really important. And I'll make sure, Sylvie, also that you have within your group the study that shows how important that insulin sensitivity is. And it's a really powerful antioxidant. Alpha lipoic acid is extremely important. And the lean muscle, you know, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Mireille that talked about, you know, making sure that you kept your lean muscle as you lose weight. There are so many fad diets out there that cause you to lose weight quickly, and you also lose heart muscle. And none of us want that. I have an acquaintance who actually lost weight way too quickly, and unfortunately suffered cardiac arrest. And it was traced back to sudden weight loss. So I would just urge all of you, go slow, be methodical, just be careful. Because this is an amazing product that works without increasing heart rate or blood pressure. So if you have anyone in your world that says, you know, I take blood pressure medication, I would always say, take this formula to your doctor, because this is the one supplement that I know of that does not increase heart rate or blood pressure. That's extremely important. We also are able to maintain our energy. A lot of people will complain as they start to lose weight that they also lose energy. We are very fortunate this formula was made in such a way that we don't. And of course, we have the benefit of ribosine, which is just amazing. This particular system supports the burning of food and fat at an optimal rate. Now, one of the things that you know, and those of us who've been with the company for a period of time, know that this was coupled with a fiber product. I'm a big proponent of fiber because it's extremely important. Fiber comes from a lot of sources, and I think that Sylvie has placed something in the Facebook group that lets you know a variety of sources of fiber that I've shared with her. I think it's really important to incorporate fiber in your diet as you lose weight. It's extremely important for gut health. So let's look at some of these supporting ingredients, because we want to be able to transform the food we eat into fuel. We want to maintain that muscle. So our protein sources need to be really good quality protein sources. We need that glutathione to remove the toxins. And then when you take a look at this proprietary blend, it is so smart because it also helps with cholesterol levels. So there are a few ingredients in here that are going to be really beneficial. So I urge you to go to the product page. If you have not gone back to the Switch product page, please do that. It's on the website. Is something that you should, make sure that you have at your disposal so that you can understand the ingredients. These ingredients were put together very carefully, and I consider any formula that Dr. Nagasawa is involved with has been put together carefully. But we had some collaborators on this that I've actually been able to visit with. But the selection of ingredients and the purity of these ingredients is really important. Vitamin D is really important for belly fat. So if belly fat is a big issue for you, making sure you support your vitamin D levels is extremely important. We want that proprietary blend, and the leucine and the citrulline are both pieces of the formula that help to maintain lean muscle. And that to me is like so important, because the more lean muscle you have, the faster you burn fat is really the easiest way to say it. Muscle occupies approximately half of the space of 1 pound of fat versus 1 pound of muscle. So as you lose weight, you want that muscle. And it's extremely important, especially when you get to, when you get over 50 and you're not producing as much muscle as you did when you were younger. This is the little tidbit that I wanted to share with you, because when I first did my DNA, this was what I found. And when I first started on the Switch capsules, I didn't understand why they work so quickly. See, I have an FTO gene that is, if you notice that red dot, that basically means that I don't manage weight very well. It's a struggle for really, insulin resistance, in addition to unbelievable cravings. And I know that Olga brought this up. Cravings are something that affect a lot of people. We assume that it's lack of character, lack of willpower, lack of something in us that causes us to reach for a bag of chips. It's not. It's typically this FTO gene. And we refer to this as the fatso gene, because it's the one thing that I recognized very quickly when I started on the Switch capsules. I did not have any cravings. I can tell you that I got a gorgeous box of chocolates at Christmas time. Chocolate used to be my weakness. I haven't even opened up the box yet. It's sitting where I can see it on a daily basis. I just haven't even broken the seal. And I can tell you it's partly because of this FTO gene that with the Switch capsules, it silences that gene for me in a really significant way. And when I understood this, that was really important. The other one is PPARG. And PPARG is a real problem for me because I'm a super absorber of fats. So that is the one thing that I have to be very careful of. And when I think it was Olga said, listen to your body, that is absolutely critical. Listen to your body. It doesn't matter what Aunt Harriet did to lose weight. It doesn't matter what Cousin George did. It matters how your body works and how your body absorbs fats. So I know for me, I'm very cautious about my fat intakes, even though, probably there are some people that can eat a lot more fat than I can. I've discovered for me that just doesn't work. But I can increase my vegetables and fruits and do extremely well. So listen to your body as you start to go through this process, because your body is going to be telling you. It's the key. So your goal is to make MetaSwitch a plan for life. This is not just something that's short term. You kind of have to change those habits. You have to use the products correctly. You actually do have to eat better, and you do have to work out a little bit. And that workout is really just movement. It's movement in some form. And I think that probably Olga and Mireille will tell you this as they're training people. The most important thing is just to be moving every single day, whether that's counting your steps and at least being accountable to yourself as to how many steps you've had in a given day. Or if you're lucky enough to have a trainer and your gyms are open and you can go to the gym and you can have someone work with you every single day, I mean, that is great. Losing weight is, you have to have a plan. Now, I like this guide that has been put in place with the Max Flex plan. I think it's an extraordinarily good tool for people to at least get them started. Now, is everybody going to do exactly the same thing and lose exactly the same amount of weight? No. Depends on your body. So ask people to be generous with themselves, to be kind with themselves, because it can be a slow process. I started in the middle of June of this past year. And I knew that I had a plan. I knew what my goal was. I had a goal date. I'm not going to hit my goal date, but I have lost 30 pounds, which for me is really significant. And I've done it very methodically. That's even having had now 2 oral surgeries that I wasn't planning on. I had my last one 2 weeks ago. And if we had done this call last week, I had a big bruise on my face and it went all the way down my neck. And I didn't speak very well because I would lisp. So I'm learning how to speak around dental surgery. But this is something that I've learned. I've been on antibiotics and I've been on steroids for this surgery. I gave myself some benefit for that. And I said, you know what? You're not going to lose weight in these next few weeks. If you can maintain, that's what your goal is. And if you can just manage to eat as much of your mushy food as you can possibly eat, that's great, as long as it was healthy. So that's what I did. We know that people are going to progress. So when they get to the 8 weeks, there are some ideas that they can include and incorporate. Again, not everyone's going to be the same. So you can be fit in 4 weeks. I mean, you can start that process. And sometimes it's the very little things that you do, the modifications, the increase in consumption of water, making sure that you're accountable to yourself. You're also actually keeping track. And I believe in keeping track, whether you use an app on your phone, which is what I do. I record every single thing that goes in my mouth. That way I don't forget. And I also have a way I can plan ahead, which was really, that's been a really big tool for me, is to be able to plan ahead, to know that if I know that I'm going to have beef for dinner, which doesn't happen very often, I will make sure that I have something like tuna fish for lunch, canned in water, so that I know that it works as a low calorie food or a low density food, so that I can make sure that I store enough calories for a piece of beef in the evening hours. So I try to be very careful. This food guide is really good. And one of the things that I think is really important is that we don't starve ourselves, making sure that you really are eating good quality foods. One of the things that I've learned to do in the evening hours is I look forward to 5 o'clock, because that's when I typically am going to get out a plate of vegetables with a fat-free dip. So I've learned to absolutely look forward. I mean, about 4 o'clock, I'm thinking about the cucumbers I'm going to peel and the sweet peppers that I'm going to cut up and the carrots and the grape tomatoes. And that is what I have before I eat dinner. And it's just become this nice little ritual that I go through because I look forward to it so much. Use the switch products correctly. That's really important, because I think that if we follow the plan. Now, I'm going to tell you that I modified just a little bit, and I actually did this in conjunction with one of the scientists who put this together. I said, I don't really feel that I have a need first thing in the morning. So instead of taking 2 capsules before breakfast, would it be okay if I split it up? Even though I'm going to do 6 capsules a day, could I do 3 before lunch and 3 before dinner? And he said, absolutely, you can. Just try to keep the 6 capsules a day. And I said, okay, great. That's exactly what I'll do. And that has worked really well for me. That doesn't work well for everyone. I posted a picture on Facebook a couple of days ago of my typical breakfast, which is lots of vegetables and some eggs. I had somebody respond to me, oh my gracious, I could never eat that. I can only have a protein drink in the morning. I was like, okay, that's great for you. What works for me works for me. And it's absolutely okay that it didn't work for her. So make sure you log on to max.com to get this information, because the information is great. It's there. Make sure you log on to get the information that you need as far as the ingredients as well. And the reason I wanted to include this slide is because if you know someone who's under a doctor's care and they want to get started with the MetaSwitch system, and they're uncertain whether or not there's going to be a problem with taking the product, please print out the product detail sheet or email the product detail sheet to them, get them to check with their physician, especially if they're diabetic, especially if they're on hypertension medication. Make sure that you take the time to make sure that the products are a good fit for them. And unless you're a health professional yourself, my recommendation is that you always defer to their doctor. I think it's just, that protects you and it protects the company. The other thing I would say is, taking measurements is really, really important. I know a lot of us depend on the scale. The scale is not the be all end all. I'm going to tell you that I really do love just one of those little paper tape measures. Checking your measurements is really important, because sometimes you're going to lose inches before you lose fat, and you're going to gain lean muscle. And when you start to gain a little bit of a lean muscle, you might say, well, the pounds are not falling off the way I expected them to. But lean muscle is important, and it's going to help you burn more fat. So please get a tape measure. It's really important. Having some guidance on kind of what you should do as far as workouts is important. Not everybody's going to do this. So if you have somebody who has not even started an exercise program in years, please don't start them out too fast, because it's really important that we start out slowly. I mean, and I don't want anyone to get injured. So I always tell people, start at the pace that you think you can, and then just build from there. And, our goal is just really to be healthier, to be fit, and to be happy, because, quite honestly, that's what all of us, I think, intend. And that's how we're going to make this accessible to a lot more people. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Janet.
Thank you very much for your wealth of information, Bobbi. I learned something new every time I listen to you. The FTO gene, for example, the fatso gene, and who knew that the switch capsules would silence that? So that's pretty amazing. And I've noticed that our cravings have gone down significantly. Now, at this point, I'd like to open up the call, like an open forum, to have any of you have an opportunity to speak. If you have any questions, if you have any struggles, any concerns, any ideas, we'd love to hear them. And if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand. So I see Linda's raised her hand. So go ahead, Linda.
Thank you so much, Janet. And thank you, Bobbi. This was exceptional information. I can never hear it too often, especially when it comes to fitness. You've given us a lot, and I love how you present it in easy to digest, no pun intended, information. So thank you. And of course, that last slide speaks to us all in different ways. And for me, as we look towards, getting older, I want to maintain strength. And so being strong is what Switch is going to help the product, what that product is going to help us do by maintaining that muscle mass. And the one question that I have for you that I haven't seen in any of the information that you shared, and that is the urine smell. And can you tell me what science is happening? Because when I take Switch, my urine smells differently than when I don't.
Well, what you're doing is you're flushing toxins. And quite honestly, Linda, if you were to eat a big bowl of asparagus, my suspicion is you would have exactly that same experience, because your body is producing glutathione. And it's that flushing of toxins is really what you're experiencing. We have a lot of people who will even experience that when they first get started on Cellgevity. Mm-hmm. They will actually say, I really just have a funny smell, and I don't know what it is. That's what it is. It's the stored toxins that you're smelling.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and next I see Bill's hand is up. So Bill, go ahead.
Okay, thanks,
Bill,
Janet. And a great presentation there, Bobbi. And I'm so full of toxins because of the smell. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you. I noticed in the under the saturated fats, the coconut oil you mentioned about being saturated fat. A lot of the health food stores are now not pushing, but for lack of a better word, introducing MCT oil, coconut oil. What are your thoughts about that? It's supposed to be a better oil to consume if you're going to consume coconut oil.
Yeah, I have to be honest, Bill. I've tried it, and my reaction was that I immediately gained weight.
Okay.
So for me, it didn't work. So that's why, I will always say, listen to your body. Find out what your body tells you. Because remember, I have that PPAR gene. So if I include too many oils in my diet, and quite honestly, right now, the only oil I use, period, is avocado oil.
Yeah.
I just use a little avocado oil with my eggs. I use a little avocado oil when I saute my vegetables. When I cook meat of any kind, whether it's chicken or fish, all of my protein, I use a little dabble of avocado oil. MCT oil, I have two containers in my pantry right now that I probably used a very, very short time because they just simply did not work for me.
Okay.
So trust your body. And yes, I know that really, quite honestly, coconut oil is one of the things. It's listed as a saturated fat for sure. It doesn't behave exactly the same way as like butter does, or the fat that you would get with red meat, or the fats that you would get with cheese. It doesn't work the same way, but it still, to me, can be problematic. So just use it carefully.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and Jasmine.
Hello.
Hello.
And thanks again, Bobbi. I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. What a great presentation. So thank you for all the knowledge that you bring to us. And it's detailed, but it's so just refreshing how you present it. So thank you for everything that you do extra for us. Just want to acknowledge you for that. So
thank you, Jasmine.
Here's my question. Yeah, thanks. My question is something that is an interesting observation and experience that I've had. I started with the Meta Switch in October, and I've done it in the past, but I started again in October. I had gotten to a weight that I had never had in my life. It was the highest. So I weighed like 174. I've never weighed that ever. Ideally, I like to be in the high 140s, low 150s. So I started 3 months ago with the switch, and I lost 20 pounds. I'm ecstatic. And this is the interesting thing that's happened. I'm starting to do stairs again. And by my home, there's stairs that you go up and down, and it's 600 stairs. So I will do 1,500 stairs, 750 being up and 750 down. And it's really interesting because now I'm paying more attention to the switch. And this is, like I said, the most abdominal fat that I've had. I'm noticing, I'm not even doing ab work specifically. I feel my abs, my muscles are pulling in, they're tightening, whether it's the obliques or the ones in front. And I'm just be going through my day. And I just notice, even like from walking, hiking, or doing the stairs, that my muscles are pulling in as if I had done a whole lot of ab work. So is this part of what switch is doing when it's building our muscle mass? Or like, I've never experienced that without doing specifically ab work. And it's really cool because my waist is smaller and my tummy's flatter. So good results, but I'm just wondering what that is that's happening physiologically.
Well, I noticed the same thing. When I first started on this, I said, okay, I don't understand this because I'm not working out. I really wasn't working out at the time, and probably not getting nearly enough physical exercise at the time. And I said, all of a sudden, I'm getting muscle definition in my abdomen that I've never seen before. And it's simply that formula. It's the citrulline and the leucine, I believe, that helps us to maintain lean muscle. And maybe Olga or Mireille can speak to this as well. But it seems to be just that that leaning the muscle, and I'm just stunned that it works as well as it does. Because even without exercise, I mean, congratulations on walking that many stairs every day. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely amazing.
Not every day, but it's exciting to be in my 60s and be able to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The fact that your knees are holding up is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's my weak spot.
Well, Bobbi, you did say in your last presentation that you will notice your muscles are more sculpted taking the switch capsules. So yeah. I noticed
there are people, and you're right, Janet, because there are even bodybuilders who use switch capsules for that purpose. Even though they don't really have weight to lose, they use it for sculpting.
Yeah. Now, there's a question here from Lutz. I don't know if Lutz can get on, but it says that there's some associates who have experienced acne on their backs and forehead when using the switch. And when they stop using it, so does the acne, I guess, the acne disappears maybe?
Yeah. Hi, Bobbi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, sweetheart.
Hi.
Yeah, Bobbi, thank you for the presentation, of course. I just have a question on that. I have some people who have taken the switch, and they notice that when they take the switch, they get these little like acne, like on the forehead, like it's like little bumps, like, and then in the back. And they kept saying, no, it's a switch. And they stop. So does the acne. Then they go back on it. The acne comes back. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell them.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, Liz. Are these people who are also supporting their glutathione any other way, or are they using any of the other products?
Yeah, they use the Sylvie.
Okay, because I would think if they have a breakout of any kind, that's probably a release of toxins. So they're releasing toxins from fat. So as they start to lose weight, the toxins will be released from their fat stores, and that's most likely what is happening. That's my first guess. Because I have seen this happen with other people where when they got started on Sylvie, they would have a little breakout, and that was just simply the release of toxins.
Okay,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have Rob Taller on here. He has his hand up. So Rob, you have a question for Bobbi?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Janet. And as Janet said, Bobbi, every time you speak, I learn something more, so that's great. Just a little question. So on your slides, you had a reference to the exercise plan, and it had a link, but the link isn't there. It doesn't work. So would you know a current link that does go towards those exercises?
Sylvie might be able to answer that. I basically got probably the slides, I think, from Chris and Tammy. And this is not a program that I had on my computer before. So I didn't test all the links. So I don't have an answer for you, Rob, but here's what I'll do. I will go back to the corporate team tomorrow and ask them where that link goes and if there's a new one. I can send them a text message in the morning.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, because we are, they're no longer on the website right now, Rob. We're going to be getting access to the workouts through Larry Lowe, and they will be available sometime this week. So we're going to be putting them directly in the Turn On Your Meta Switch group. So you can access them from there.
Okay, because I forget now that it's off the screen, but that my whatever switch isn't an active link.
No, it's not. And it's even before, it was only available for those that were on the Meta Switch. But we're going to be getting access to the videos, and we should be getting them this week. And as soon as we have them up, we'll let everybody know, but they'll be in the Turn On Your Meta Switch group on the Facebook group.
Okay, great.
And Sylvie, if you want me to text Larry, I can do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay. We have Mireille. Mireille has her hand up. So Mireille, you have a question for Bobbi?
Thank you. Once again, Bobbi, a great presentation, such a wealth of knowledge. One of the questions that often comes up is how long, can somebody stay on switch? I know for myself, I've taken the tips that you've shared, and even beyond the 90 days in the past, I've kept going with a lower dose of switch. But if you could speak to that for anybody who likes the results that they're seeing, or perhaps has had maybe a bit of a tough time at the beginning, cheated along the way, and wants to go an extra month. What's your feedback on that, please?
When this was originally introduced, we had some folks who did like a 90-day challenge, but they stayed on it long term, and you can go to a maintenance dose. So instead of doing 2 capsules twice a day or 3 twice a day, you can go 1 capsule each meal, and it really does still help to curb. So for me, I don't take it every single day, but I will take it when I need it. So if I can start to feel some of the cravings coming back, I certainly will go back. Or if I feel that I just need a little extra support, I'll go back. I'm not losing weight as quickly as I was at the beginning, but I'm doing this really methodically, and I've done it very purposefully because I want to get to a point where dieting doesn't have to be a way of life anymore. It's just that I've learned really healthy habits. And so maintenance doses, really, it's a matter of you figuring out for your own body what works. And that's why I will always tell people, just listen to what your body's telling you. If you need the support, use the support. And instead of ordering 1 bottle every month, you could order 1 bottle every 2 months. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Totally. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Now, I don't see any more hands. Oh, Scott Henderson. Hi, Scott.
Hi. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yep.
Maybe I can add something to that, Bobbi, and thank you very much for your time tonight. The MetaSwitch is a product I started with in 2013, and I've been on it now for over 9 years.
Wow.
Full dose every day. So wow. It's awesome, still works great. It has helped me way more than just one way. It's so much more than just weight loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had, I know some of you are familiar with my situation. I was dealing with a lot of chronic pain, and that really helped me a lot in that way as well. And on top of that, a bonus, I lost weight as well. So yeah, it's excellent. And when you add the proper eating and exercise along with it, it comes right back off again, with very little effort.
And how's your lean muscle, Scott? Because that would be a question for you.
Good. I find I gain quite well. I know I've slipped off over the COVID time for the last year or so. And I just recently started back on the program in January 1st. And yeah, it's been going really well.
I refer to those as my COVID curves.
Yeah, COVID curves. So I've been getting some good results already, and I'm seeing a difference. And Elaine said the same thing. So it's going to keep on trucking.
Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah. Tom, I just wanted to introduce you guys all to Tom Schmidt. You've seen him in the Facebook, our MetaSwitch group. He is quite active and really shares some really nice posts on his food and inspiration. So Tom, just like to hear how you're doing on the MetaSwitch right now.
For me, I guess like Bobbi mentioned, it definitely curbed my cravings, right? Like I was the guy who was eating potato chips every night and washing it down with beers and 2 liters of Coke, and I gained weight massively. So I basically figured, I'm killing myself. So I needed to do something. I happened to see Janet's post on Facebook, contacted her, and I said, you got to get me on this MetaSwitch. And I believe it was around mid-December I started. And almost immediately, I have 0 cravings for junk food. I'm lucky my wife cooks healthy for me. And I can eat her cooking. Of course, I'm following the Max Flex recipe book as well, and creating my own recipes. And sometimes I post stuff and throw stuff up there for people, right? you know, just for fun, right? And so I like to share. And when I started, I believe it was 222, middle of December, and I'm probably like 204 right now. I haven't weighed myself this week at the end of the week yet, so hopefully, my goal was to be below 200, but I don't think I hit it. Unfortunately, I had a couple of days where I just could not exercise. I over-exercised, and I ended up burning myself out, and then I didn't exercise the next day. So I realized, like the other people had talked about, better off to take baby steps and look at the long term instead of taking one huge leap and like, okay, it didn't work and I give up, right? That's what's happened for me. I've got more energy. I'm sleeping better. I did have the funny urine smell. It reminded me of asparagus, right? So somebody answered that question, so that's fantastic. Yeah, and overall, I don't have the aches and pains in my body that I normally would have if I exercised like I'm doing right now, just because of my age. I'm 50 plus, right? I feel like it's made my age drop 10, 15 years, right? So it's been a fantastic product for me, right?
And you're just a third of the way there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm hoping, well, I don't know, we'll see. I'm hoping I'll be at 180 or something by the end of the 3 months. We'll see.
Yay.
Right. Get back to my bicycling weight.
Nice. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? And I guess we can close this call pretty soon. No, everyone's good?
Well, just quickly, Chris and I, we're seeing big results, and we jumped in, as we always do. When we decide to do something, we just go all the way. And but we have noticed, like everybody else, the same thing, you know, less cravings. Chris was very much like you, so I was laughing when you were saying it, not the beers or the Coke, but he'd be searching for that crunchy, dry stuff at night, you know, chips and anything that's carby, and if it was there. Now, I don't buy any of that stuff, and he was still, at the beginning, he was searching for it, and it wasn't there, and then he got used to it not being there. So now yeah, he doesn't even think about it at all. And so we've seen a huge difference in our strength. That surprised me quite well. Like we both have increased our weight, and yes, Tom, you have to be careful because sometimes you just get this, you just feel good. You have so much energy, and you know, because you eat good, you feel good, you go and lift the weights, and you do have to be careful. We go up a little bit at a time, and we've been training for a long time. So, but I've seen a big difference of the muscle really getting that definition and the fat melting off the body. So, awesome product.
Yeah, that was a wonderful call, and really appreciate you, Bobbi. Janet, it was wonderful for you to host this, and Olga and Sylvie and Mireille, thank you for adding on to the call. So there was a lot of great gold nuggets here. So the call is recorded. We'll make that available. And you're right. I mean, Tom, I can relate to you, buddy, but not the beer, but certainly, man, looking for the candies and the chocolates and the chips. And I hate when I wake up in the morning or I get the acid reflux at night because of this, or drinking the milk. I don't do well with milk. I don't do well with cream, any things like that. So, and since we're starting to get rid of this stuff, and trust me, I walk around and I know it's not there, and I still open the drawer just to see if it's there. You know, I'm not kidding. It's just a real nasty habit. But once after 23 days, you know what it is, right? It takes 23 days to break a habit or to start a habit. And once you're on the product, it really helps well. But thank you. That was a wonderful call or session.
Well, let's touch base in a month. So this is a third of the way. We'll go 2/3, and then of course we'll go into the last third, which will be the grand finale.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll end on this note, I guess.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for attending.
Good night. Thank you.
Great call. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Great job. Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Thanks, Bobbi.